Okay, so the first thing we're going to do when we're working with materials in Revit is to really just make sure we have the right materials that we want to actually use. So pretty much everything's going to happen from this materials dialog here, which is inside the Manage tab. So what we have is really three different sections to this browser window. There's the materials that are in your project, which are all these. There's the material library or libraries that you have loaded into your project. And then there's the information about the material you have selected. So if I click on this ceramic tile, it's going to show me this is the different information here. I'll link to a really good tutorial on how this all works and how to kind of customize some of these, the graphics and the appearance and so on. But as far as an overview, we have some of this stuff loaded in, and it's organized by kind of by type, right? So glass, masonry, metal, paint, plastics, roofing. And so there's a lot of stuff in here already, and as you load stuff into your model, it's going to get busier and busier. So it's good to be kind of familiar with what's in here already, but then we're also going to have to just sort of search on a pretty regular basis if we want to find almost anything, right? So if I want to, like, let's say I wanted to find concrete, my best bet is going to be to search it in here. So one thing to note, when you search for concrete, it's going to search here in project materials. These are the materials loaded into my project already. It's also searching all of the libraries that are plugged in that this project has access to, but these materials are not yet in my project, right? So we've got, if we go in here to Autodesk Materials, we've got all these different kinds of concrete, and these are not yet in the project. Let's say I want a split face CMU block. That looks pretty good. So I can grab this, and then I can hit this button right here to hit adds material to the document, and then it's going to bump this up into my project. And then I can come in here and I can change the color of this material to be kind of like more of a gray color. Now it's in the project, and now I can start putting, painting it onto surfaces and really making use of it. I can also assign it to system families, and you can do that inside the structure, and I'll go over that in a future video. The other thing to note as far as getting materials and creating materials is this little button right here called the Asset Browser. It's really hidden away, but there is an absolute ton of stuff in this Asset Browser. So this Asset Browser, it's kind of like another layer below the materials. So the material, so right here when we look at this image right here, this image is an asset. And so then, oops, sorry, there we go. So then we have all this stuff. These are all assets. So we can go in here, rather than trying to search the internet for a good material, we can go in here to our physical assets, or I can just go in here and type CMU, and let's see what we get. Right, so we get quite a few different things. Here is the split face running asset that was loaded in here, and oops, sorry, this asset is not going to have everything as far as the image fade, the glossiness, and the highlights and all these things. It's just the image, but usually the image is kind of the thing that you're most worried about, right? So let me move this out of the way. So let's say I want to find a very specific kind of porcelain tile. So I'll go in here and type porcelain, give it a second to load. It's searching a lot of stuff. Oh, I guess it's already loaded in, sorry. So here's all these different porcelain tiles, and some of them look pretty good. Maybe I'll just open the search term up and just do tile and see what I get. So here we got a bunch of different types of tile. Here's this 3-inch square white tile. Okay, let's say I want to use that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hit this, replaces the current asset in the editor. So sometimes the asset's already in here, and sometimes, when I say here I mean over here, and sometimes it's not yet loaded into the project. So what we can do, if we search for tile, is we can go in here. Okay. Takes a little bit to kind of track it down. And sometimes it's hard to know exactly where you loaded it. But here is a 4-inch porcelain tile. Right, that looks pretty good. So let's say I want to load that into the project, right? So I just loaded it in, and now it's here in the project, and it's called tile porcelain. So the other thing to note is when you load something in and you're going to make use of it, I would highly suggest you rename it and you do !DAS underscore, and then I usually, just like I do here, you know, I'll do porcelain underscore 4-inch white tile. Right. Now what that's going to do, especially when I close out of this search term, it's going to stack all these exclamation mark DAS material at the top of this really long list, right? It's kind of annoying to try and go in here and find it. I can always search. Sometimes you sort of forget what's in your project in some ways. So appending DAS exclamation mark DAS to your material is going to help you kind of find it easier over time. So that's the idea, right? There's a lot of stuff in here that you can always pull in, and if you don't see it in here, you can go on this asset browser and get even more stuff. There's a ton of stuff in here. So for the most part, if you're looking for something, you can probably find it in here.